Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button if you guys are enjoying the content that we're throwing up. And make sure you guys hit the like button if you enjoy the video. And yeah, let's begin. What's going on, guys? This is Rob, and normally we have these versus videos strictly on Patreon. It's one of the tiers that you guys can become a part of, so you can basically vote every Wednesday on which characters we're going to have face off against each other, or on which teams we're going to have face off against each other, and then we release a video for that respective tier on Patreon. For this video, we're going to do what we do occasionally, which is to release it publicly, to give people an idea of what kind of content we produce that's exclusive to Patreon. And in this video, we're covering the Sentry versus Superboy Prime. Now, in typical fashion, we'll cover the origins and powers of each of these characters, and then we'll end the video by declaring one of them to be our winner. Now, starting with the Sentry, he was created by Paul Jenkins and Jay Lee and first appeared in the Sentry #1 in the year 2000. Now, although the Sentry is by no means the only Superman knockoff that Marvel's introduced over the years, he's probably the most well-received and popular among fans, at least among some fans. I've noticed it's the vocal minority that hate the Sentry, but it's usually 50 people sounding like 5,000. But the Sentry is the alter ego of Robert Reynolds, a man who was given a serum that imbued him with the power of 1,000,000 exploding suns. And so Robert uses his power to become the Sentry, one of the most famous superheroes in the world. But when we're first introduced to him, he's actually a middle-aged and overweight man with no memory of his past career as a superhero. Eventually, his memories begin to return, and we learn that the Sentry had a dark counterpart hidden within his psyche known as the Void. Knowing the danger the Void posed, the Sentry actually used a device atop Avengers Watchtower to cause everyone, including himself, to forget that either the Sentry or the Void ever existed, thinking that doing so would prevent the Void from re-emerging. Spoiler alert, it didn't. But because Sentry is heavily inspired by Superman, the two characters have very similar power sets. The Sentry possesses super strength, speed, durability, and of course, he can fly. He also has some abilities that Superman does not have, such as invisibility, phasing through solid objects, telekinesis, telepathy, size, and shape alteration, and he can heal himself and others, and even resurrect the dead. The explanation for most of these powers, however, is that the Sentry is able to manipulate matter at a molecular level, which allows him to do basically anything he wants to. The Sentry's skill at matter manipulation is so prodigious that he was able to manipulate the molecules within the Molecule Man Owen Reese, who himself is an extremely adept matter manipulator. Something that I do want to point out here, though, is that when that happened with the Molecule Man, one of the things people tend to forget to bring up is that the Molecule Man was much weaker than he was back during the days of like Secret Wars 2. He was ridiculously powerful during Secret Wars 2. He was a multiversal threat. By the time this came around with the Sentry, his power had been decreased by a massive scale. He was like a Franklin Richards level character. Now that changed when Hickman wrote Avengers: The New Avengers and beefed his power back up. But at the moment, or at least at the time this story was written, he was a pretty weak character. Now in terms of physical strength, the Sentry is one of the strongest non-cosmic characters in Marvel Comics, and was able to battle the Incredible Hulk's second strongest form, the Worldbreaker Hulk form, to an absolute standstill. It's also rumored, according to Peter Parker, that the Sentry battled Galactus to a stalemate. And while we don't actually see this happen on panel, it is mentioned in the official handbook of the Marvel Universe, which I don't really like to use as a reference, so I think that we can kind of accept it as canon if we want to. That being said, anyone that's able to go toe-to-toe with a nigh omnipotent cosmic entity like Galactus is a force to be reckoned with. The Sentry can also harness vast amounts of energy, and when he battled another extremely powerful entity, Genus Vel, he released enough energy in one of his attacks to level an entire planet. Not only is the Sentry incredibly durable, virtually to the point of invulnerability, but he also possesses advanced healing abilities that allow him to recover from being partly destroyed, and was unable to destroy himself even when he attempted to do so by flying into the heart of a sun. In one of Sentry's most recent appearances in Annihilation Scourge Beta Ray Build #1, the Sentry is able to rip a hole in reality by tearing through the barrier that separates the negative zone from the Marvel Universe, which will sound pretty familiar if you know anything about Superboy Prime. But if you don't, just stay tuned and we'll cover it in a few minutes. But when dealing with the Sentry, the possibility of dealing with the Void must also be considered, as more often than not, the dark side of Robert Reynolds finds a way to manifest itself sooner or later. Now the Void is every bit as strong as the Sentry, if not more powerful, and also possesses other abilities such as shapeshifting, weather manipulation, and tendrils that probe and infect the minds of others, forcing them to see all these horrible things from their past or their future. And so he's basically like an evil counterpart to the Sentry that's powerful enough that the Sentry is willing to give up and forget about his life as a superhero to eliminate the threat he posed. Something kind of cool here is during the events of What If Siege. It was the Siege What If story, the Siege on Asgard story. And the Void ended up manifesting and then ended up like traveling out into the universe and presumably killing all the cosmic entities out there, right? So like wiping out all life life across the universe. It's kind of nuts. But on the other side of this battle, we have one of the most powerful versions of Superman, Superboy Prime. Now, Superboy Prime was created by Elliot S. Maggin and Kurt Swan and first appeared in DC Comics Presents number 87 in 1985. But it wasn't until much later in 2006's Infinite Crisis that he would begin using the name Superboy Prime. And so this guy is actually the Kal-El from Earth Prime, which is the DC Comics version of our Earth here in the real world, where no one has any kind of superpowers and superheroes only exist in works of fiction. Now, like the main continuity version of Superman, this version is the last surviving resident of the planet Krypton and is sent to Earth just before the planet's destroyed. He's adopted by Jerry and Naomi Kent and given the name Clark. Now, Clark's powers manifest when he's 15 years old and Halley's Comet appears above the Earth. As for his powers, they appear to be the exact same as the main continuity Superman's, with the exception of his vulnerability to magic, since magic does not exist on Earth Prime. But he has the whole gamut of powers that we all associate with Superman: super strength, super speed, invulnerability, flight, frostbreath, heat vision, x-ray vision, the whole deal. But we come to see that Superboy Prime's power level far exceeds that of the main version of Superman. It's never really explained why this is the case, but one theory attributes his insane power level to the time he spent inside the Paradise Dimension, where he basically went insane. Now, this happens as his universe is destroyed by the Anti-Monitor in Crisis on Infinite Earths, and at the end of the event, he, alongside Superman from Earth 2, Lois Lane from Earth 2, and Lex Luthor from Earth 3, end up more or less kind of being rewarded by being sent off to what was essentially heaven, because the expectation is they were never really going to come back, so it was kind of like, you know, sending them off on a nice kind of farewell, more or less. But despite being there, he ends up getting pissed that he's been robbed of his youth and becomes incredibly jealous of Connor Kent, the Superboy of the main DC continuity, as well as the fact that he feels like the superheroes wasted the opportunity to start over because they ended up just kind of becoming darker versions, right? It was kind of a meta commentary, to be honest, by Jeff Johns, basically looking at the way superheroes existed after Crisis on Infinite Earths versus the way they existed before. If anything, I really think it's just Jeff Johns kind of romanticizing superhero comics in the 1950s and 60s and 70s as opposed to like anything else. And the result was that Superboy Prime hated the fact that most heroes more or less kind of became anti-heroes because they would tote the line between good guys and bad guys doing bad things to achieve good goals. Regardless, he doesn't really have the conscientiousness that causes Superman to hold back and simply just uses his powers to their fullest extent without any regard to the consequence. Whatever the explanation, Superboy Prime is a ridiculously powerful character and has shown it on multiple occasions. The most notable example of his power is that he punches his way through the barrier that separates his pocket dimension from the main DC universe. These punches destroy the barrier between realities and send ripple effects to various corners of the DC universe, including the resurrection of Jason Todd and merging all the various origin stories of Superman into one continuity. His punches also alter the orbits of several planets and even realigns the center of the universe, and so he's able to punch the barrier of reality so hard that he literally changed reality. So yeah, pretty impressive stuff. On another occasion, Superboy Prime punched his way out of the Phantom Zone, which is a dimension designed to serve as a prison for the most dangerous threats in the DC multiverse and is thought to be inescapable. And in another instance, he escapes the Speed Force after being trapped there by the various speedsters of the DC universe by designing a suit designed to siphon off the Speed Force's energy. He's also said to be faster than Wally West, who is believed to be the fastest speedster in DC Comics at the time. He's defeated the combined forces of the Justice Society of America, the Teen Titans, and Doom Patrol with minimal effort, and was able to defeat a Green Lantern of the Daxamite race, a race similar in powers to Kryptonians that's wielding the Ion Symbiote, which greatly enhances his power level. In addition, Superboy Prime is virtually invulnerable, surviving the explosion of a bomb that was powerful enough to destroy a galaxy. And so with all that in mind, who would win this battle between two of the heaviest hitters in comic books? Well, honestly, this is one of the hardest matches to declare a winner in for a couple of different reasons. One, these are two ridiculously powerful characters and have always been depicted as being able to basically do anything the plot of the story dictates, and so it's hard to figure out what their maximum power level is because neither has notably reached it. What I mean is that at any point, if these two characters were to be used in a storyline, they could probably do even more impressive things than we've already seen, just because that's the way they're usually written. And so because of that, we have to look at what we've actually seen them do, which normally wouldn't be a problem, but there are some inconsistencies in how the Sentry has been written over the years. For example, we're to believe that he was able to stalemate Galactus, but also that Worldbreaker Hulk was able to defeat him, which simply just doesn't make sense. As strong as Worldbreaker Hulk is, he's nowhere near the power level of Galactus, and so it's hard to get a concrete sense of the Sentry's actual power. That, of course, is assuming that we choose to believe that the Sentry could actually or did actually fight Galactus to a standstill. With that being said, I know there will be a lot of you who disagree with the eventual winner, and I'll admit that I could see this battle going either way because these characters are just so similar. But based on what we've seen them do, I think Superboy Prime is the most likely winner. Although Sentry did rip through the fabric of reality, it did not create the lasting effects of reality warping that Superboy Prime's punches to the barrier of reality did. And although it's been said that the Sentry was able to stalemate Galactus, that just seems like more of an outlier to me when we look at his other feats, which although impressive, have not been on the level of what Superboy Prime has done. And so while this is a close call, I think these two would have an epic battle regardless of who wins. And I have to give the edge here to Superboy Prime. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of disagreement, a lot of debate, and that's what's so great about this, is everyone believes they're right. But with that being said, guys, we're going to bring this video to an end. If you are new here to Comics Explained, make sure you guys hit the sub button to become part of the Rob Corps. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you drop a like. If you guys want to be part of more of these versus battles, go check out Patreon. You will find a link down in the description, and I will catch you all later. Peace.